You're listening to the Superpower Up podcast with your superpower experts. This is the place where we explore real-life superpowers and give you the tools to unlock your own.
Hello, everyone. This is Tonya Dawn Recla, your superpower expert, and I'm really excited to talk today with Renee Lopez. We're going to be talking about the entrepreneur mindset, and she brings such a really cool flair to this. You're going to love her energy, but she has such a unique background. So she was a college soccer coach for 14 years, high school varsity coach for 3 years, and she's all about, as most people are who come on this show, there's a lot of different areas where she's mastered expertise. And one of those is in helping kids get into college and scholarship and stuff like that. So she's amassed a ton of information in that regard, but then also the leadership and mindset. And you can start to see the threads and how all of those tie together. And that's why I love the conversation about the entrepreneur mindset, because I feel like she really embodies the complexity of entrepreneurship and how we all go about that, and how so many of us are like, I don't just want to focus on one thing. And so we really can do it all. And then how do you do it all? And how do you go about that? And so I'm excited about the dialogue today. And I'm really excited to welcome to the show, Renee Lopez. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here today.
Very cool. You have quite the impressive resume. You know, you've been featured on ESPN Radio. You were named Coach of the Year. Like you've got some really cool stuff that I don't know that we always associate with entrepreneurship and mindset and that kind of thing. And so I'm really excited to get into that and kind of flesh out that journey and how you got here. But first, let's start with, what are your superpowers?
Wow. Well, I think, for me, I really love to help take people in a strategic way from point A to point B. And I think that is something that overlaps in all capacities, whether I am a college soccer coach, helping my little freshman who comes in is all intimidated because everybody's good around them and they were used to being the star in their high school, to be flourishing and become who they can be on the field or academically when they're choosing a major. But, also what it looks like in working with entrepreneurs and also just top-level leaders. I do a lot of work with community service projects and community agencies, as well as corporate Fortune 500 companies, and really helping them try to strategically plan where they want to go and what they want to do. And it's amazing to see the overlap that happens, because I love seeing that oftentimes it's really just a shift in their mindset and going from one place to another and thinking a little bit differently. And so I love doing what I do now. Obviously, being on the soccer field is a little bit different than being in corporate America, but it is amazing how much of an overlap there is, because it's all about competitive spirit, drive, and strategically planning where you want to go and where you want to grow as well.
Awesome. Well, I love how you talked about all that and the getting from point A to point B. And I especially appreciate the fact that you added the strategy in there. And I think that that comes out in everything that you talk about in the very short time that you and I have connected. How did you go from soccer to corporate America? What was that path for you?
Well, about 2 years ago, I actually had kind of decided I was stepping out of the college coaching realm. I was sick of working 90 hours a week, always on the road, waking up and never remembering what city I was in. It happened quite a bit. And if you do that for 14 years, you kind of needed a break and you get a little worn down. So I decided I really wanted to kind of discover who I was and kind of think through ways in which I could utilize the skills I've had, been fine-tuning as a coach. And, what I really realized, and I did a lot of personality tests and things like that, I really realized, I'm really strong in strategic planning. I'm really strong in helping people discover who they are, what their values are, and how all those areas can tie in together. And so, I started to think through that I was really good at helping high school student athletes through the recruiting process and understanding what types of schools would be good for them according to their talents and their skills and their passions. And so, I've been doing recruiting seminars for years and years on the high school for high school students and in high schools and clubs and things like that. And after every time I would do one of those seminars, somebody would walk up to me and say, you need to write a book on that. And for 14 years, I blew them off. And I just kept saying, no, that's crazy. I don't even know anything about writing a book. And then fast forward, I started thinking through all this as I was stepping out of college coaching. And I go to a seminar with the John Maxwell Team. And the John Maxwell Team is all about leadership, development, growth. And I ended up hearing a little bit about the 15 Laws of Growth and what that book stands for by John Maxwell. It really talks about being intentional about your growth and that leadership is influence. And I started to realize all of these areas started to really tie across to each other. And so I decided to join the John Maxwell Team and was honored to be offered an opportunity to do that. With that kind of started an opportunity to work with the Jon Gordon Company and the Positive Coaching Alliance and three-dimensional coaching. And so all of these areas started to overlap. And really what I started to see was an overlap of personal growth and the mindset of leaders and what they needed to do and where they need to go. So I started the book because I felt like I needed to grow and really take that step of growth for myself personally. And then at the same time, I really started to discover a lot more about leadership development, and which led me to working in organizations like State Farm and, different organizations across the country. And really, it's amazing because, whether I'm working with a State Farm insurance agent who is really looking to grow his company, or I'm working with a high school student athlete who's looking to, go into college and play and wants to get some athletic scholarship and things like that. All of that is really about planning out their future and ways that they can grow personally in order to influence others. And, they could be seeking out that next step. And if we can help them discover who they are to be able to grow and really stretch themselves, then we can really look to help and influence. So that's a little bit long-winded answer for you, but, it's been an amazing journey for the past 2 years. And who would have thought that a college soccer coach would be working with corporate 500s, Fortune 500 companies and corporations. Who would have thought that? But it's amazing how many of the things that overlap across, just people growing and their steps to really think beyond where they think they currently are.
I love that. And I love the synchronicity and all of it. And it really feels very perfect. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into how you can help hone your mindset and move yourself forward and get some advice from Renee on that. But before we do, Renee, where can people go to find out more about you?
Well, I would love for them to connect with me. My email address is info@lookingforafullride.com. info@lookingforafullride.com. You can also reach me on our website. It is www.rlopezcoaching.com. I run lots of blogs on the high school student athlete and the college recruiting process, as well as I run a lot of Facebook groups in terms of mindset and opportunities for you to grow, and doing a lot of keynotes and such. So I'd love to offer out to the first 15 people who mentioned this podcast to me via email, again, info@lookingforafullride.com, that I will offer out a 30-minute mindset reboot for you, whether you are a high school student athlete and just want a thought process and moving yourself forward, or you're a leader, an executive, in a community or in any avenue of life, that if you'd like to have a little bit of a mindset reboot, I would be glad to help you out with that for free. So the first 15 people that contact me and mention this podcast at info@lookingforafullride.com.
Beautiful. What a great opportunity. Jump on that, folks. But stay tuned, and we will be right back after this break to talk to Renee a little bit more about the entrepreneur mindset. Stay with us.
Are you here to change the world? Do you talk about things like vibration, frequency, awakening, and consciousness? Are you pretty sure you have superpowers? The Superpower Net is unlike normal coaching programs and conscious communities. We provide training, intuitive guidance, peer-to-peer learning, intensive one-on-one coaching, and a high vibrational network of people just like you. When you join the net, you get 24/7 access to a collaborative group of people who support you as you master your personal power and unlock your superpowers. If you're ready to use your superpowers to change the world, then join the Superpower Net today. Visit superpowerexperts.com/thenet to learn more.
Perfect. We're back. You're listening to the Superpower Up podcast, and we're talking today with Renee Lopez about the entrepreneur mindset. So Renee, before the break, we dived into your kind of how you got here, which was, I'm sure was a very abridged version. But I love the intricacies and the synergy of how everything's kind of unfolded for you and your courage in walking that path. So what advice do you have for people, they're listening to you and they're like, wow, I love her confidence and I love the idea of invoking strategy to move me. Like, what can we offer to folks, a way that they can get started doing that kind of work?
Well, I think it's really the mindset and how we speak to ourselves. And, I worked with mental training coaches for many, many years. Tammy Matheny, she's phenomenal. Work with my teams in Colorado, my teams in Florida, my teams in South Carolina. And, I would never have a season without her, because I could tell you she would always come in and work with my athletes and really challenge my athletes. But more importantly, she really challenged me. And it was really about the mindset of how we're speaking to ourselves. And, one of the things that she introduced to us, I think, was such a small little thing, but it was absolutely huge in terms of perspective. She introduced to my athletes, and really especially to me as a coach, is this three little letter word, yet. I haven't been able to pass a fitness test versus I haven't passed a fitness test yet. And you transfer that to being an entrepreneur. I haven't reached X number of followers on Twitter versus I haven't reached X number of followers on Twitter yet. And it's a small little word, but man, it can transform every conversation that you start to have, because it demonstrates that you're in a growth mindset. You're thinking of what the next step will be, as opposed to a fixed mindset. Oftentimes, as student athletes, they think, well, I'm just not as talented as somebody else. Well, if we strategically plan, we can get you to be better. We can teach you how to develop your strengths and hide your weaknesses. And I think that's very true in terms of what we do in business as well, is let's play to our strengths. I can tell you, I have people that work with me and do my website and all the techie stuff. That's not my world, and for me, I know that's my weakness. So I know how to take care of that and make sure that I have people around me to help that and support me in that. But I think you take that little word, yet, it really can transform any conversation. And so right now, somebody is thinking to themselves, well, I just can't do that, whatever that is. And for me, it was writing a book. And, I had to change my mindset and thinking of, I just haven't written that book yet. And you start to think about that in perspective as well, in the idea that, Jon Gordon, I'm honored to be a part of his presenting staff. He talks a lot about the idea of get to versus have to. We oftentimes would have student athletes come to practice and go, I have to go to practice today. And what I would do is I would grab my cell phone and I would list off to the girls the names of kids that had just contacted me via email who are dying to be a part of our team in the future. And I would say to them, guys, do you think that they are thinking they would have to go to practice, or are you thinking that they would get the opportunity to play for us? And, again, that transfers over to everything that we're doing. I get the opportunity to be extremely busy and doing some media and things like that for my book. I get the opportunity. I don't have to. I get to. And I think, if we can change our mindset in some of those areas, really those can shift what we do and impact the future. And, one of the other crazy things that I'd read and worked with the John Maxwell Team was 42% of college graduates never read a book after they graduate from college. That statistic is just mind-blowing to me. Never, ever, ever again read a book. And I think, if we can think about growth and where we're going and what we're trying to do, is if we can think that let's be able to learn, whether it's on an amazing podcast like yours, or maybe it's just listening to something on Audible while you're taking a walk or going for a run, or maybe it is actually sitting, on a bike and you're a stationary bike and you're reading a book. But the idea is, we need to make sure that we're growing and figuring out ways to grow. And I think if we can constantly put ourselves around other people who are growing and mentors who are challenging us to grow, take the mindset, take the idea that we're stepping in and reading books and pursuing more knowledge, and then mentors and people around us to push us. I think those three areas will really transform every aspect of your life. And that's really what I've been focusing on the past 2 years as I grow my business and, step into trying to help others grow themselves and their businesses.
I think that that's really powerful advice. And so if someone's sitting here listening and during different phases, I think some of the challenges, we don't know what we need. And, and so I think, aligning yourself with somebody that you resonate with, who can kind of hold your hand and guide you with that. But I can see a lot of people kind of just sitting at their phone or at their computer going, okay, I'm happy to listen to a podcast or I'm happy to read a book. Like, where do I even start? What is it? And I know that we've addressed a number of different people at different phases in their existence. But one of the things I like to do is, in a very high level way, I like to utilize the tools that we have available to us. And so Google could be your best friend or your worst enemy, right? And so the way to use that is that start kind of diving down some rabbit holes, but not from a but kind of open that space up a little bit and allow your inner guidance to kind of guide you and say, okay, does that feel good? I'm intrigued by that. And rather than kind of look for the shiny name or the what you think you should be looking for, really follow your curiosity. The work that I do with people, I don't throw out any clues. Like everything is a clue in terms of all the intricacies and complexities that we brought in with us. That help us guide ourselves down our paths and figure out, well, what makes us happy and what is it that we want to do and what feels successful to us. And I think that a lot of times our curiosity can guide us in that way. Do you have other than people following their curiosity, do you have a quick tip for some people, like, even know where to start? Like, let's say they do want to read a book. They're like, okay, cool, Renee, I get it. Yes, I'll read a book. Where do they start with that? Like, how do you have a tip that you share with your clients on guiding that process?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's, first in thinking of your mindset. Anyone who's going to lead or impact others really have to lead themselves first. And so, like I mentioned, the John Maxwell book on the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, I would highly recommend that book. And I have worked in that with that book and in training programs, whether it was with high school student athletes or business execs. And, I think that actually will start to get you thinking. Another book I would highly recommend as well is the Jon Gordon book called The Energy Bus. It really is about mindsets. And I think, as you start to pursue your passions and really stretch yourself, if you can have the right mindset and have a thought process of moving forward and you're stretching yourself on a daily basis, the idea that, John Maxwell really talks about is one of his laws is called the law of the mirror. You must really see value in yourself and add value to yourself, because you think about it, your identity is really, that people never really are able to outperform their own self-image. So, you look at it and you say, what does an Olympic athlete do every day? They get up and train and they get ready and prepared, and they do it on a daily discipline and thinking through that. So what I encourage is to find something that you would like to read and challenge you. Obviously, I mentioned a couple books there, but the idea is finding something that's going to challenge you to take action, not just sit back and read and think, wow, that sounds really nice. That's actually what happens. And a lot of times people go to motivational seminars and such, and they'll hear a lot of ideas, but it's the implementation of it. And so this is where that idea is. Talk to people that you find that you would believe are mentors to you. Or if you don't have found a mentor, start asking around and find somebody who's going to be able to pour into you, and ask them what their favorite books are. And more importantly, ask them to hold you accountable to some actions. So it's been really an interesting process starting the process of writing a book and interviewing 40 college coaches for my book. And I am very much accountable to my publisher and making sure that I'm doing the right things on a daily basis. And, I've met some amazing people, but I've also met some people that are also in the exact same process that I'm going through, that are fellow authors. They're writing about things that are completely different than mine, but they're also with my publishing company. We've connected, and more importantly, we've held each other accountable and challenged each other to take ourselves to the next level. So I think it's the idea of finding something you're passionate about, finding something focused on your mindset, but also thinking that you need to outperform your own self-image of what you currently have, and start to think a little bit differently and have people around you to pour into you, build you up, and stop being around the negative Nellies, the people that are out there that are just bringing you down. And think through the idea that those mentors and people, and maybe it's coworkers, maybe it's just a sibling, maybe it's your best friend, who are going to build you up and encourage you in your growth process, and more importantly, hold you accountable in that. That's going to be the key part. So whether it's maybe you and a friend decide to read one chapter a week in a book, and you're going to talk about it on Saturday, and have a lunch, something like that. Or maybe it's building each other up and hey, what are 2 or 3 growth areas that you want to focus on? Whether maybe it's financial, maybe it's in dropping some weight, or maybe it's something of just your negative thoughts that you're saying and spewing out on social media. So finding the ways that you can actually help yourself and be able to grow, but with others around you supporting. Because if you have other people supporting you, they say it all in sports psychology, all over the place. If you write something down and you have somebody hold you accountable, you're more likely to take that action and follow through with that action on a daily basis.
Beautiful. I could not have said it better. I think that's awesome. I love the accountability aspect. Renee, I love what you're doing in the world, and I'm so appreciative that you chose to come on the show and share your wisdom with our audience today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and remind people again about your very generous offer and where they can find more about you?
Absolutely. You can reach out to me via email if you want to be one of the first 15 people that mention this podcast. You can email me at info@lookingforafullride.com, info@lookingforafullride.com, and I will offer 30 minutes of a free mindset reboot and thought process. And you can also visit my website at www.rlopezcoaching.com, rlopezcoaching.com. And I would love to connect with you. You can also find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Renee. And to all of you out there, as always, we appreciate your loyalty. Until next time, go out, uncover your superpowers, and change the world. Take care, everyone.
Are you ready to discover your superpowers? Go now to superpowerexperts.com and discover your superpowers today.